So here's representatives of the 15 families of tessellating pentagons. One of them is a pretty bad representative, and you'll see why in a minute. One thing I did when 3D printing these is that you can make a little puzzle out of them. So if you don't happen to know what the tessellations look like in advance, that's a nice puzzle, and that's your exchange gift if you feel like trying to find those tessellations yourself. I made these using what I call the Pentamizer, which is a customizable 3D printing design that you can all use for free to make any of the 15 families of pentagons, all of the pentagons you can use with the Pentamizer. Oh, and I saw someone take a picture of this slide, so let me just go back just a second. There's a link to this slide at bit.ly/printingpentagons, so you can get all the links at once if you go to that link. Okay, so with the Pentamizer, you can print all the pentagons and a bunch of stuff with those pentagons. The backbone of that software is OpenSCAD, where you use code to develop where the vertices go, and then you can do various modifications. The vertex data for that came from Ed Pegg's wonderful Wolfram demonstration, so that's why I want to thank Ed. When I see the pentagons, my first thought, if you're an airplane fan, is what can you make with that, right? So that they're great, but what are we going to make? And so I started by making some sort of really geeky wallpaper. So if you wanted this textured wallpaper where the heights are representing which pentagons are going to tile by translation, there's a 4-unit one. This one has an 8-tile unit, so there's 8 different heights. This is the last one, the Type 15 pentagon. That's a very nice one. The Pentamizer also will produce embossing, so if you feel like embossing pentagonal tessellations on things, you can do that. You can make cookie cutters. You can make desk organizers. The Pentaminizer actually knows how to make all those things right out of the box. And if you notice, the desk organizer is particularly good at holding even tinier pentagons if you have a collection of those. You can chain together a lot of these 4-tile units, in this case for the Type 6, and actually make a bracelet that's 3D printable flat, and then you thermoform by putting it in water and wrap it around your wrist. It turns out the melting temperature of PLA is like a cup of tea, so you can dip it in there and then mold it. Here's a different one. They make very nice bracelets. In fact, I traveled to India with the Lady Tech Guild, and we did a bunch of workshops where we taught about these pentagons, and then people got to leave with one of these bracelets that they fit to their wrist. Now, that was a really dumb way to make bracelets because it ends with, boiling water and you wrapping it. It would be nice to have a more consistent way. If you want to use software like Rhino, you can use a plugin called Grasshopper. You could import a flat thing and have it wrap around a curved thing that's the size that you want your bracelet to be. If you're interested in that, I wrote a tutorial about how to wrap a thing around another thing in Grasshopper, and it's at that link. So if that's something you're interested in, this is sort of some visual code that will take any flat input thing and information about the envelope you want it to live in and wrap it around that bracelet. And when you do that, you can actually 3D print a very nice bracelet, like on a super fancy 3D printer, like it's sort of high quality, not like you did it yourself in a cup of tea. You can even 3D print it in wax and then have it cast in silver. I have one of those with me if anybody wants to see it. And I could have actually started from scratch in Grasshopper. I mean, we could have, instead of importing the flat thing, we could just recreate the pentagons ourselves. Then we could make the little unit of pentagons that tessellate, put a string of those together, have that wrap around something, and now we have full control. We can pipe it. We can change sort of the geometry of how it flows. You can even do these genetic algorithms that optimize, you know how the pentagons are families for the most part. You can tweak that family so that the pentagons actually exactly wrap around the envelope that you wanted it to be without changing the height. It's really nice. And then you can have some even fancier bracelets if you want. Here's a laser cut 3D print combination that was exhibited at Astor Place of some planters. This is based on the Type 9, and it has a little plaque that talks about Marjorie Rice, which I was really excited that we could get that, sneak that math into the art exhibit. Here's a bottle opener. It does not open any bottles yet, but I think it will. I just have to figure out what to do with it, so that's coming soon. This was made on a Carvey, which is like a desktop, I guess, 3D router, so this sort of offset tessellation. you can make with that. I got kind of obsessed with making whole sheets of tessellation, so this one's 3D printed in nylon at Shapeways, and then you can put it on your wall like a picture. I have one of these for all 15 of the tessellations if you feel like having a lot of pictures. Okay, so let's go back to the original 15. I said one of these is a bad representative, and the eagle-eyed of you will notice that it is the 11th in my picture. Is in fact not a pentagon at all. Now, it's a degenerate pentagon, right? One of the sides just happened to go to 0. The way I had put the data in made me have a degenerate pentagon. My son and I 3D printed basically one of these for all of you, and type 11 was included, and this is how many 11s we printed before we realized we were actually done with the 11s. And I thought, wait, I counted like, no, these are not pentagons. So some people will get type 11, but we did reprint them, and it is actually a pentagon. So since I started with saying goodbye, let me end by saying hello. This is how you can contact me. There were a lot of links to like products in there, but honestly, I give everything away for free at the link that you see right there. So you can also follow that link. And the link to the slides is below. Thanks.